Chairperson,
Order.
Chairperson Matt,
Yeah.
Mr. Conley, Mr. Two present.
So we're going to reverse the order on our agenda for the evening, and we'll start off reviewing all of the job descriptions that were sent to subcommittee for review.
And, Madam Chair, Mr. Piatto asked if he could be available by telephone because we thought he was gonna be second. So I can call him and try to get him on.
Well, I would say the one that I do have the question, we would like, I think, some additional explanation on the enrollment counselor. And basically, I'd be looking for the rationale between why it's different from just adding a guidance counselor.
With your permission, but call him out.
Yeah, yeah. Please, thank you. Oh, yeah, we need to connect with them. The qualification certification as a high school counselor or a school counselor that's noted. Is that different than a guidance counselor certification? It's the second to last qualification.
It has a minimum service requirement, whereas the typical one would require years of service. It's minimum 5 years experience.
But is that what the license is?
As a school guidance counselor. More specific.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure. So is there a difference between a school counselor and a guidance counselor?
Not for our purposes, but we do have one, no, you don't have that. We require school guidance counselors. So that's just missing.
It's just missing, it should say guidance
That's
counselor.
a
Okay.
guidance counselor.
Should make that correction. That's the correct license. Oh. I think you just need to change the margins.
On the budget?
Yeah.
It's actually, yeah, believe it or not, it's.
The UTO got delayed, so like the whole thing might be available now. We talked about the enrollment counselor and how it would differ from a traditional guidance counselor. All right, so I'll put you on speaker, but you're on, all right then. All right, 30 seconds. Same one.
It's what?
Same as a guidance counselor, so
If he doesn't have it, he or she wouldn't have a caseload, that's what you're saying.
eventually not, but they have 5 more work years.
All right, I'm down in a quiet phase because I'm at home now. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking the time to speak to me about this position. I want to be able to answer any questions that you have. I could start by going over the position, or you could, I think you've already been able to use it, but let me know, how I can be of service to clarify any questions that you may have.
Sure thing, Ms. Fair. My first question is just to explain to me the difference between this position and a traditional guidance counselor position that would require a whole different title and job description.
Oh, that's probably the question of the day, is the differentiation between a typical school counselor and an enrollment counselor. So as you know what school counselors do. Meeting with students, going over their post-secondary plan, scheduling day-to-day, any crises that something that a social worker would handle, scheduling classes, preparing classes for the following year, checking in on grades, parent complaints. There's a whole host of issues that they deal with and proactive stances that they take with students. With the enrollment counselor, so we have increased the amount of students coming in. I mean, our enrollment has pretty much remained the same, but we have students coming in from different, as you know, Lowell, you guys all know this, we know Lowell's a very diverse community. We have students coming in from different parts of the world. And that seems to have taken an uptick. Over 500 new students have come in since the start of the school year, which requires very careful inspection of all of the transcripts. Number one, transcripts coming from different countries. Some students, we have to look at their level of credits, the amount of credits they've attained, and then look at the placement of are they ELL students? Do they need to have testing? And we work very well with the Family Resource Center, but this is what we found is that in some cases, some students may have been incorrectly coded or placed in the wrong program, thus having to either have the student who's already started reclassify their schedule. In some cases, students may be overage or undercredited and might need a conversation with their enrollment counselor to talk about maybe there could be some other options involved if they're 19 or 20 years old. And yes, we want them to get an education, but they may not have enough credits to even be a full 10th grader that might end up in grade 9. So it's a point of entry that really kind of runs like a point guard or quarterback to properly place students in that correct house office. Now you might say, yes, guidance counselors typically do this job, but because it's one other task that it's such a busy task, and it's an ongoing task that with day-to-day students coming in and also maybe going to different schools, that this enrollment counselor also can help us with tracking us the Lowell High School to make sure they get picked up by another district and avoid having it coded as a dropout. Having someone who's at the ready, who understands transcripts, who understands grading, coding, and proper placement of students. We also have started this year with the student support services in our bachelor program, the ambassador program, mainly run by students. It's a wonderful program that allows new students, whether they come from another country or from another school, an opportunity to get a tour of the school, to get fully acclimated with the rules, the handbook, and we'd like the enrollment counselor to take on the responsibility of overseeing the ambassador program. So every student that comes in would be guaranteed to have the same type of orientation to Lowell High School. As you know, first impressions mean a lot. So if the student comes in and really feels warm welcome at the first point of entry, that will be a higher likelihood that the student would have a good first day, good second day, make sure they know how to get on the bus, make sure they know how to access their schedule, how to use Aspen. And it takes a little bit of a load off the guidance counselor so that they don't necessarily have to do that administrative task, but then they walk over to the house office or have the ambassador walk into the house office and then get them in touch with their assistant principal words and their actual guidance counselor, but then we take it from there. So that's essentially the main role. They would have a caseload. I guess there's a possibility they can have a small caseload, but I wouldn't really advise it so that they were able to be at least for the first year, so that we can see how this position goes. And with I think it's going to be a busy position because of the number of students that are coming in and the high need of the students that are coming in and the services that they're requiring.
So I think everything you described certainly has value. So I don't dispute that. But I do think that you basically just described a guidance counselor who's specializing in entry. So I guess is there a benefit in creating a brand new job description for something? I mean, they're being paid like a guidance counselor, they're part of the guidance counselor union, they're doing guidance counselor tasks. There's a saying about a duck that comes to mind.
So you asking if we just keep the position titled school counselor and not change it to a home?
I mean, just add another school counselor, another guidance counselor to your team. I mean, I think you can warrant it because I agree, the numbers of new students coming in is extraordinary and I suspect isn't gonna go down in the next couple of years. But it's just creating something new that doesn't really serve the purpose. Yes, Mr. Conway, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the move that we initially tried to make, and, I don't know where to push it back, maybe Dr. Hall might be able to explain it more, but I believe that we did, try to, frame it in that way, and just call it a guidance counselor, or school counselor. I believe it was met with some resistance, but I'm not exactly sure. I can't pinpoint where that came from.
Mr. Piano, are there additional days with this job description that guidance counselors don't work, and is that part of the challenge?
It's exactly the same, it would be exactly the same contract, same working conditions and stipulations.
I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Conway.
yeah, thank you. Could you tell me what's the difference in the salary of these two?
It's no different, it's cost control, it's the same, salary.
Because I think, and I agree with Ms. Martin, I mean, these are, everything you described is certainly, extremely important, and that we don't want anybody to slip through the cracks. But what I'm saying actually is that everything you described is exactly what a guidance counselor would do. And I've seen that obviously for many years. So I don't necessarily see that there is a need for another title. Again, I think go along with the fact of an additional guidance counselor, but under the normal circumstances. And I understand that first year, perhaps not necessarily having a caseload, but I think eventually, I think it would be important to, just like a classroom, you wanna cut down that pupil teacher ratio. Same thing with guidance counselors too. You want to do the same thing in that area.
Yeah, it's understandable, definitely trying to take some pressure off the guidance counselor. If we just add one guidance counselor, even if they have a full caseload, it would make a minimal difference on the totality of the number of students that was in, based on the number of counselors that we have. Yeah, but with the flexibility with one position, I think we all agree that when I'm hearing everybody that we all agree on the concept, but what you're saying is the title shouldn't necessarily have to change at the moment, just leave it as school counselor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be my recommendation. I don't know if you're comfortable with that. You should just be added into the budget process, one additional guidance counselor FTE for the high school.
And I just want to be clear, we already have that, so if you have the position, so we don't need to add another position. It's already in our budget. We were not able to, this position was, last year, we got it approved by the school by council, but we didn't have the further discussion about the title, should it be enrollment or guidance, so we don't have anybody in the actual position now, we're starting to fill it. We didn't find a suitable candidate, so it was left unfilled. So I think we'll need to add another counselor. I just wanted to consider the title change to differentiate between the two, but I do understand the point of leaving some flexibility.
Yes.
With the title for taking on within a caseload to perform in the event that maybe there's a guidance counselor or counselor on maternity leave, why we need to do some work in an office or a health office. There's a long-term sickness that would give us some flexibility with the school counselor to maneuver across the campus if needed.
Yeah, I think that gives you some added flexibility that could be really helpful. Okay, so then I would just table that position. And then we'll have a conversation during the budget conversation.
Right.
So, second position to be considered is the Title I director. We voted on that a number of times now.
Ms. Mark,
Yes,
there happens to be another high school position.
Oh.
Here, while we have Mr.
Sure.
At the back, there's the lead security position this far, and then also the one at the very top, which is the
That's
high school testing and assessment coordinator.
yeah, that one's mystery. And I'm gonna have to quickly, so it's literally mystery. Do you wanna do the security position first? Yeah, I think that would be very helpful, thank you.
So a few things that are important to all of us. The main safety and security stuff most important, not only at the campus, but in all public schools. We have a security team, that we're really trying to be, professionalized. I look at the lead security position as, he or she would be a security guard, that would be basically in charge of the day-to-day operation of the security. Making sure that we have someone on the camera, making sure we have, all of our, deployment plans, established on a day-to-day basis, that you know that this vacation. And we have to then decide where the hunt point, we need to be there. One staff member that we have is the discipline operations specialist, formerly run now at Mulligan. Pat's always doing a wonderful job with being in charge of the facility, being in charge of day-to-day stuff, a lot of the operational components, in addition to security guards and custodians. But one of the tasks that Pat has that is covered and will continue to work on over the next 3 years is the school construction project. That has been consuming incredible amount of time. For good reason, and it's going to be a great outcome when we get there, but there's a lot of consideration with moving staff members to new rooms, making sure that the renovations that are renovated to the communicated with all of our constituents, making sure that the move is smooth and all of the construction details are met. So with having that thoroughly consumed with the facility, having a lead security, at least for the next 3 years, is going to be incredibly important to ensure that all the security guards have a go-to person on a day-to-day basis. They have been set the construction meeting, constantly a meeting with mechanical stuff, architect, and we rely on him to be our representative for the construction project. Meeting sometimes with the lead security guard, we have a point person to have to ensure that all the security members of our security team understand what their role is. The lead security also in the plan or in the job description would include ensuring that all the staff have been trained, DPI training, de-escalation training, making sure that they're on time, that they sign in, that they complete all their tasks before they call, and now also just having day-to-day communication to promote teamwork and accountability throughout the campus. We're navigating store building as we move towards the construction project next year. It's going to be a whole different set of entry, exit, the new security cameras are going to require a lot of leadership to get our staff on board with. So with the evolution of our campus and the evolution of the needs of the security guard, the lead security guard to help us stay at the cusp of the top training and the communication between administration, teachers, faculty, and the community.
So with the lead position, will they be directly supervising the security staff responsible for evaluations and all that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe under the current contract, they wouldn't be able to conduct evaluations, but on a day-to-day basis, would be able to provide them with direction, but either me or Mr. Mulligan would be the one who would, complete their formal evaluation with input from the leader.
And the cost differential,
I had to look at what the custodian maybe, because I believe it's very similar, so it's about $20,000 difference. If we hit it in the middle, so give or take 5,000, so between 15 and 25,000, which I have accounted for in the budget.
So it's gonna be aligned with the senior custodian, paid, depending upon the person's qualifications.
So what about the senior custodian? How much more the senior custodian do they make? Is it levels like with the teachers?
The senior custodian makes around approximately 60 to 65,000 on their senior, so base salary.
so this position would be in like the 75, 80?
No, I think it would be down around 60.
What would that be percent?
The person picks will not have a lot of seniority.
Why is his number so much different?
Depend on seniority amount of average. It's probably talking about average salary between grades. Security guard. Versus senior custodian.
Well, I can see a $10,000. Now you're going up to 20 to 25. I would say no to that. No, it's just.
So the differential should be between building services, line person versus senior.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rossi.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it would make a lot more sense to have somebody internally move up to that position. Who knows the policies and procedures throughout the school. Instead of somebody brand new and bump up their salary.
I sense like, and of course, it has to be process, but I would think that somebody who has experience with online security. Yeah.
I think it's good. Mr. Dr. Hall, can the committee, the committee choose to accept the job description and then the salary has to follow? Or could the committee agree to the job description and agree with the maximum option?
It's, so basically, right now, the person who gets the job will be paid on the senior custodian grid. Security guards are in the building services grid, so they'd be bound by whatever the collective by.
So that plus 10.
No, they're gonna be paid,
Just that.
they're gonna be paid whatever senior.
Okay. On the same grid that exists.
Yes.
I take that as a motion from second. There you go. All those in favor say aye. So we'll recommend that to the committee. Thank you very much. And then your last one, Mr. Gatto, is this testing.
Can I just ask that I couldn't hear what was the jump, because I just didn't get the reception on that. What was the motion?
You won.
So Mike, in just the person would be paid on the senior custodian grid, given that the building services includes security guards, paid as,
Okay,
all right?
It's what you were asking for, Mike.
all right, I just didn't hear what was being discussed, like, thank you very much.
Okay, so high school testing and assessment coordinator.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this position. So, I believe this position did exist in the past. It is currently, there's an older job description, but it is in the LSAA contract. So it's another position in the past. I think we all understand the high stakes accountability that goes with assessment. And I read some numbers today, and it was, and I never, and it doesn't surprise me because I know we were kidding, but it's astonishing. I mean, that's over 5,000 students every year when it comes to some sort of standardized test. Everywhere from high ready to MCAS for our sophomores, iReady for our ninth grade, MCAS for our sophomores, math, education for the PSAT, SAT, and AP testing, in addition to the kind of a new round of testing, which is an awesome opportunity for students with the skill of applied literacy, and that also was I think we do a great job of accomplishing the
Mr. Piano? Mr. Piano, we're gonna swap phones if you don't mind. You should answer my call, please. I'll call you instead, all right? Thank you.
Cheap. Think you can afford it,
The worst one.
twice next week, there'll be an additional 10,000.
I'm Mr. Piano, you're back on. That other phone was dying, so go right back into it, same please.
Thank you.
So a lot of testing.
We test over 5,000 students in a variety of different tests every year, and I think I will be the first to admit that we get students in seats. We do a good job of ensuring that students get tested. There's a lot of work to be done with being thoughtful about how we use the data from the test. So this role is going to be very critical to managing and overseeing assessments and examinations. That would be essential for all of our students, so that we can ensure that what students are being tested on gets into the hands of teachers, gets into the hands of students, so that learning from the data is a top priority. I believe right now we're doing, like I said, we get the students tested, but there's a lot of people that are involved in the process, and we can still continue to have a team approach, but when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, sometimes things get lost in translation or communication breakdowns occur, and having a singular point person that would be in charge of all the testing, ensure that the calendar is set at the beginning of the year, ensure that all students who are required to test are tested. As you know, with MCAS, we have to have proctor testing, proctor training. All teachers need to be trained in both access testing and in MCAS, and we want to make sure that we're giving our students the necessary accommodations that they're afforded, ensuring that teachers know what those accommodations are so that they can provide them to students. And then after the testing, going deep into the data. Like I said, I think we do a good job with cursory data, but we're not going deep enough looking at standards. What are students, what can students improve on? How can teachers help students meet the standard? Looking at 8th grade, the 7th and 8th grade iReady data more closely, ensuring all 9th graders are tested, and being able to translate and use that information to inform practice with our 9th grade team. Looking at 10th grade MCAS, making sure 11th grade teachers have that information. Looking at our PSAT and SAT data, and looking at our AP data much more thoroughly. I think we can do a better job with that. But having that singular person that can oversee all the testing, continue to work with all the various stakeholders, I'm pretty confident will help us improve not only getting students tested, but looking at our achievement results. And I think sometimes that we miss the mark when we're not giving students proper accommodations, and having somebody that's going to be on top of that, working closely with the guidance counselors, working with the teachers and students to ensure that all of our testing requirements are met, and that the data is used effectively to inform practice. I mean, that's essentially the crux of that position. Is like I said, we're in with access testing. We tested over almost 900 students with access testing. It took us quite a long time to get through it. But again, we have a department chair. We have teachers that help out, but having a singular person that can communicate with the Department of Education to make sure that we're in compliance, that we're meeting all the needs of our students, and that we're sharing out the data with teachers and PD and PLCs to ensure that they understand how our students did and how that can inform instruction.
Great.
This position We have currently a data analyst position, and I propose to eliminate that position. So it would be essentially cost neutral. I think there would be, additional, funding that would need to the school, which I have available at the local budget to provide, to make this work, but we'd be able to bring in an experienced person with, experience with data, experience with, this type of work, whether it be a current staff member or someone from outside.
Thank you very much. Mr. Conlon, you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. Who's in charge of the testing now?
So like I said, we have different people doing different tests. So for example, right now, FCAS was run by someone who's titled an instructional specialist. And back before I got there, he had inherited that role. He's doing a fine job, but I think that there's an opportunity for growth with this position to take on more responsibility. For access testing is the department chair for English language learners, and that person is also doing a great job. But when we were involved in the access testing, the department chair, who should really be also getting into classrooms and supporting teachers and providing observation and feedback, had to basically lose a month of that, providing direct service to teachers because they were involved in the testing. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be involved in the testing, but having a point person to oversee that would take the load off the department chair to really do the job that they were hired to do. For AP testing, we have a counselor, one of our career counselors running that, which again, it's working out great, but we don't have someone that's digging deep and helping us look at the data. How many students are taking AP? We need to just be more strategic in our testing so that we use the data to inform placement, instruction, and how we're doing with our achievement levels.
Thank you. Mr. Conlon, any other questions? Ms. O'Rourke, if you have any.
I just have a point of clarification. So it sounds like it's all over the place, and right now, those that are actually administering those tests, it's being taken away from their time in instructional use than being a supervisor or whatever. And so this would kind of consolidate it. So there would be one test person. If somebody has a question in regards to an access test, an AP test, an MCAS test, it would all go to this person.
You summed it up wonderfully. Yes, pretty much what you said is exactly what I'm looking to do.
I was just gonna say they maybe need an assistant because it sounds intense.
I was just gonna say, don't come back next year and ask for an assistant.
Well, what I will say is that we do have, we have teachers and teachers who, maybe it's a duty period, or maybe it's, before or after school, and they're helping out in various ways. But again, giving the teachers a little bit of their time back, we're still gonna need their support, we're still gonna need department chairs to be involved, we're still gonna need counselors to be involved, but having that one point person to streamline all the testing would make things much easier for our teachers. When they need to get an MCAS score, they're gonna get an MCAS score. When they need an AP score, they're gonna get an AP score. When they need a access score, they're gonna get an access score, and that information is gonna be readily accessible. And through Open Architect and through the DESI portal, they should be able to also get MCAS related questions, to do some data analysis, do some item analysis, and to be able to have that at their fingertips, and not have to spend a lot of time looking for that information, which then delays the process to get that information out into the class.
Great. I just had two quick questions. One was, who does this person report up to?
The testing coordinator,
Yep.
that would be to me.
Okay, so directly you. And then my other question is, what you're describing is a fairly, obviously, as Mr. Rice said, a pretty intense position. There are no educational requirements or qualifications for this position. Is that accurate?
I'm not the one at the end of the day to say I think that has to be negotiated. I'm not really sure, but I would expect that, the individual had, either a supervisor director license or an assistant principal license. And had, the, ability to, proven experience and in some capacity of testing and data analysis.
Okay, thank you.
I would have to refer to Dr. Hall with regards to how to negotiate in those requirements. but-
Okay, so it does have a master's required, that's fine, that was my mistake, I apologize. So are there any other questions regarding this, no? I entertain a motion to approve moving forward with the testing coordinator position from Mr. Conway, seconded by myself, all those in favor say aye. We'll make that recommendation to the full committee. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Fiata.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
And that brings us to Title I.
Yes, yeah, can I just, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if we want to assess the timing. It seems to me, I'd like to also discuss the type one, I'd like to be here for that, I won't be here that. Are we going to just postpone that when we start without him, and then we could start. I could go to City Hall and return, and how do you do that?
That would probably be the best strategy before they take you. Right away. So,
Sure, okay,
Right.
so let's do type one, please.
Okay. So this has already been voted on a number of different times. My only question on this position is why is it reporting to the CFO and not to a curriculum or a student support?
We agreed about that, Mr. Martin, I think that you made a good suggestion. You know, as you can imagine, we're talking about new organizational charts. There's quite a bit of, well, how about this and how about that and why not? So we haven't produced, by the way, I'll take your lead, committee's lead on when to show and you know, a new organization chart, and when we do so, we consider a draft until it's approved.
Okay.
So that I like the idea of having a report to academics.
So then I would entertain a motion to approve the Title I job description by Mr. Conway, seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye. It can be recommended to the full committee. Did we get them all?
Yeah, facilities.
Oh,
Organization. If I could speak to that.
Yep.
Briefly. We have two vacancies right now for area facility manager. The initial plan had the district set up in various sectors, all reporting to the director of facilities, who is charge of the high school as part of his responsibilities. We've had vacancies for two area facility managers, and the candidates that we identified and basically stated they didn't think their responsibilities were enough, and the compensation wasn't sufficient for them to leave their other facilities positions. And speaking with Mr. Underwood, he said really one of the three people there needs to be designated to do deliveries and pickups from schools and make assessments. And he advises that really one of them could be reduced to junior custodian, who has some strong organizational skills. And we both think having a deputy would benefit us in transitioning in an organization and for when the director of facilities is unavailable on vacation. Since this was published, I would like the subcommittee to consider if the person has a college degree, that the range would go up potentially another $5,000. I think that would help us in recruiting and advertising the position. I think this reorganization will save approximately $25,000 to $30,000. Also give us more flexibility and responsiveness and provide a continuity.
Are you gonna make, you're not gonna make the college degree required though, just for fun? Questions, comments?
It's like, probably not say similar to what Dr. Moss said, that it allows us to attempt at least to fill positions with qualified people at a reasonable salary that might attract them versus continually trying to manage with open positions and people being taken from us by city and others. And at the same time, we ended up with three positions at savings. Right, so I think it's on Dr. Hall's behalf and Rick was behalf, it's a smart idea. It also, with the deputy facilities director, potentially gives us a feeder program for when our director leaves. So,
So yes, Mr. Rossi.
That's all right, I do have a question. And it goes back to kind of what I said from before, is there anybody who already knows our processes, if we're gonna pay them this much money and they're not required to have a master's degree, why don't we promote from within at the same time in this situation, if we're going to feed into our facilities director position at some point, essentially, because we need people who know this system more than anything, not any new type of philosophies, because I think that's where we often get lost.
I think that's also it's very smart thinking. One of the reasons it hasn't panned out so well so far is that under this the scheme that we have had working where we have 2 area managers, we for the life of us can't get the best and most senior custodians to go for it. It's available to them, we've included them, but they're happy where they are, it's just not appealing enough for at the level. But given what you're, I'm in agreement with your sentiment, and I like that idea. You know, you have to know the city, you have to know the school buildings, and you know, many of our senior custodians have actually worked in several different buildings. We're certain that's our first group of recruitment. Doesn't sort of, you find some hot ticket, you know, from another district who's phenomenal with, you know, AC or with heating systems, you're still allowed to go that route, but I think that hiring from within is desirable as well.
So I entertain a motion to approve by Mr. Conway, seconded by me, all those in favor say aye. We move forward with recommendations of the full committee.
With your permission, I'm gonna check on, the union unless you want to have some discussions on executive session, but
We want to go into it, yeah, I think we should go into an executive session right now. So did we determine who can be here for that?
believe, Ms. Rossi can get invited to be here, she just can't participate.
Cordially invited.
Just don't talk. For that.
Make face no such thing. Yeah, you can let us know. What you think. So I would entertain a motion by Mr. Conway for the subcommittee to enter into executive session for the purposes of contract compensation.